Well, that's a pretty painting. Nice color choices, energetic brushwork, dynamic presence, smooth lighting, fulfilling composition, delves a little into my vulnerable side. An all-around nice viewing experience. You might say it's quite beautiful. But what does beautiful mean? Like, it has some spirit to it, some charm. It's not just sitting there, it's engaging you. Engaging me? There's like a meaning to it or something, I don't know. It has a presence, you might say. The point is, something inside of you is different because you looked at this. Something moved. Something is illuminated. The phenomenon of life feels slightly different now. Now there is something else that moves. A different set of values that illuminates something different in me. And life becomes a different phenomenon once again. Now a different value system once more, and something in me changes again, culminating in yet another adjustment to the phenomenon of life. What is that little thing that moves when I look inside of someone else's imagination? What is it that lights up? How do we study it? Is it worth attempting an answer to that ever-elusive question, what are people after all? As time goes on, are we getting closer, or are we getting further away? And are the people of the past so far behind us as we think? Take a visit to the monastery and listen to a lecture from Sandro Sebastian, the art monk. Here's another interview question for you, Sandro. Give us another sales pitch for the artist. You are trying to make this look like a legit job, but why do we need you? You don't catch bad guys, you don't put out fires, you don't heal sick people or mend injuries, you don't build houses for us to live in, or provide food or physical nourishment for people. What exactly is the point of us paying any attention to you? The benefit someone like me provides to society, if I'm going to give the one that I discovered, and the one that motivates me the most, is to think of what you do as providing a certain kind of emotional support that we don't know we need. As a human person, you need emotional support from family, people who are in that particular position in your life, and from friends, people who are in that particular position in your life, and even professional support from coworkers and professional colleagues, people who are in that particular position in your life. All of this collectively balances your mental health. But there is something about getting emotional support from a complete stranger, from out there in the world, someone that you don't have to live with and don't have to concern yourself with the details of who this person is, or his life story or daily behavioral patterns. We can still share some level of emotional vulnerability, both of us being people that have to share a world that neither of us asked to be a part of. So we got that in common. That's enough for me to work with. Don't worry, I'm a professional. I think of the artist as the opposite of a standard bully. Listen, a bully is an individual who for some reason has a heightened sense of human vulnerability. A bully knows what makes us feel small, insecure, and powerless. And a bully is a sick individual who deliberately pokes at it to manipulate and abuse victims, usually to feel better about him or herself. And yes, women can be bullies too. Just look at how women treat each other. Jesus. Because not all bullying is physical. And yes, it does occur within relationships between men and women, within marriages even. Any gender, any race, any social class or job occupation, country of origin or age group, whatever level of education, anyone can emotionally manipulate anyone. And it is equally unacceptable, no matter who does it to whom. There are just some people that understand human frailty, but don't sympathize with it. They use it to take advantage. A masterful artist is someone who I believe shares the initial trait of seeing what makes us vulnerable, what haunts us internally, and what makes us frail. But unlike the bully, instead of abusing it, the artist puts something in the world that cradles and uplifts it. You are doing the opposite of bullying, making us love ourselves more instead of hate ourselves more. And the more you learn to take our vulnerable side less for granted, and see more deeply into the human identity, the better you get at affirming it. There's no government agency or division of law enforcement or branch of the military that is designed to serve and protect our self-esteem as humans. It's an area in which we are all completely exposed. The FBI and CIA can track and capture the bad guys on the outside, but who arrests the bad guys that live on the inside? How do I get them to stop bothering me? I don't know much in this world, people, but I do know one thing, and that is that people are capable of anything. Remember, our job as Christians is not to judge people, and certainly not to take sides. It's to educate the world on the nature of evil, which is something the secular world can't spot on their own, let alone how much evil there is in the world, and just how evil can be. Evil. When you discover that you have a skill that can actually make our lives more bearable, shine a flashlight into the deeper crevices of our psychology, and get us a little more in sync with the human identity, so we aren't stumbling around in the dark, completely insecure, without reassurance. If you have something that offers a unique kind of emotional support that you know separates us from the animals, it creates a feeling of responsibility. If I choose to keep that gift to myself, then all the emotional baggage I could have cured, all the insecurity I could have relieved, and all the depression I could have helped people through, if it is all still out there torturing people, is it now my fault? After all, I would want someone to do this for me. So before you decide to run off and join the circus, young people looking at a life in the arts, you need to decide that whatever this is you are making is something we absolutely need to see, man. Otherwise, I can't recommend the logistics of this absolutely ridiculous lifestyle of leaping across rooftops in the night, under the light of the moon as some sort of caped crusader, staying just one step ahead of the law, hoping to make enough money to make it to the next project, the Masked Avenger. As an artist, you are kind of a superhero, just a superhero that loses more fights than he wins. The art life is 5% dream come true, where magic is real and dreams come to life, and the other 95% is a logistical nightmare that you can't wake up from, and you never will. Even if you hit it big, you don't wake up from the nightmare. You just live inside of it. So you can have an excuse to see just a little bit more of that magic you believe in, make it out into the space between us, and make life more bearable. But the benefit is you get to hang out with your best friend all day. Makes it easier to live inside of the nightmare when you've got your best bud with you through thick and thin. If your imagination is not your best friend, then you are in the wrong business. You don't ever get used to it. You just get better at being uncomfortable. Sandro Sebastian. Remember that the truth holds firm here just as strongly as anywhere else in society, that whatever job you work ends up being just a job. If you have to do something regularly, even when you're not in the mood, even if it's making fantastic works of art, it does become a grind. So you have to decide that you are willing to do this even when it becomes a grind. Think of a musical artist playing the same set of songs 5 or 6 nights in a row while on tour. For everyone in the audience, this is the first time they've heard the show. But for the band on stage, we've heard these pieces hundreds or thousands of times. Not just in rehearsal, but while on tour. Blech. Now remember, no matter what job is being worked, in any field, everybody has days when you grumble through your work. Just like when you're a kid in school going to class every day, having tests and homework assignments, you grumble. Stupid teachers, stupid pop quiz, stupid classmates, stupid homework, stupid school. When you get older, kids, this is what you have to look forward to as an adult in the workplace. Stupid cubicle, stupid coworkers, stupid manager, stupid corporate office, stupid dreams that never came true, stupid employee break room with vending machine that never works, stupid life. If you're a teenager in high school right now or a kid just finishing college, just wait until you're working a job in the adult world. When you get into your 30s, you'll learn to see it in the people around you, all the grumbling, Stupid taxes, stupid gas prices, stupid government, stupid president. Even I grumble through my work sometimes. Whatever the hell my work is. Stupid script writing, stupid storyboarding, stupid painting, stupid recording sessions, stupid video editing. Everybody grumbles through their work. Just try and remember that it could be worse. Thank God for Jesus, right? I don't know what I would do without him. You've seen what all of this turns a person into out there. Oh, good Lord. For an artist, at least a good one, you need a reminder of the human identity and what makes people special and what stimulates the imagination so your mind doesn't get stuck on that same track of grumbling about your job, your life, your government, and all other things that make you cranky in life. You just need some relief from that, or fresh perspective on it. Most people would say that as long as the work is its own reward, then it'll be fine. Don't be in it for money or potential fame. But I don't think that's the case either, even if you like the work for its own sake. And you're talented at it, the life itself is just not worth it. It's not practical or reasonable and consistently steps on your dignity, as you get rejected by a lot of mediocre people, and you have to stay cool through it all. The only way I can see this being worth it is if you have something that the rest of us need to see. If you know this will enlighten us, and we'd miss out if we didn't see this. That's the only way it will be worth it, but that's not most of you. But of course, when determining the quality of good art and what separates a compelling masterpiece from general graphic design, or pop music that comes and goes on the radio, or movies in cinema with a 3-month run and then fade away like they were never there, what is a masterpiece that endures and why do most people just make stuff that's in the former category, the mediocre stuff? Like, do we not have enough of that already? So as a new artist, you come up against the inevitable moment that all practitioners of any discipline do, as you realize, apparently, it's not as easy as it looks. I guess that's why people get famous for being good at it. Sandro Sebastian. If everyone were good at it, then no one would get famous for it. How you respond to this moment is what separates the best from the rest, and what separates the rest from the university art department faculty members. The part of humanity we are discovering with art, and art theory and discussion, is a unique element of psychology that deals with how the eye prioritizes one visual event or aesthetic gesture over another, and ultimately, this subjective art is a contest of values. Thinking of it like numbers or science is opposite the point. The absolute mathematical side of the universe is measured in sciences and numbers, and we entrust ourselves to them for that reason. It makes us feel safe and in control. We appreciate numbers for their absolute quality. They don't change their mind, and no decisions have to be made along the way. 2 and 2 make 4. No one explains why. No one asks why. It's just why we have numbers. When I need something that's less than 3, yet more than 1, and a whole number at that, one that gives me exactly 1/3 of 6, I summon the number 2 and it performs its task, does a splendid job of it, and I send it on its way once done, for we can ask no more of it. No other number performs the task quite so well, and this number performs no task but this one. Until we find another number to replace it with, we have only it to rely on, though so far it hasn't failed us. And there are indeed a great many problems in life that are solved by absolute logic, hard facts, and sciences. The absolute side of the universe that has not a why and needs no why. The side that just is what it is. The opposite side of reality, though, the part not so absolute, so logical, is where art is discovered, and what we use art in order to discover. When it's not a matter of fact, but a matter of values, and all parts of life that require making decisions, and executing judgment about what I'm looking at here. The subjective nature of the practice then engages you, making you squint a bit. To decide what you're looking at, I guess you must decide what sort of creature is looking at the piece itself. The ultimate question of what people are, and where our identity comes from, then takes center stage, making us all vulnerable and making us all equals. How do we not take our own human identity for granted, when no one in the room has ever been anything but human? I've nothing to compare it to, Sandro. How can I derive meaning from being human? Well, it's not so easy as 2 and 2 make 4, now is it? Well, the mind must decide its art somehow, and not furniture. My inner being must be engaged in some way that engages my humanity. What's actually happening to me when I experience that is different for every person, of course, but there is something charming about it, something above furniture, or the pop music on the drive to work, or a university art department faculty member's webpage. Something seduces me, compels me. Or maybe it's all bullshit. Maybe it's all a projection, Sandro. Maybe we're just biology and nothing else. Hyper-intelligent chimpanzees with less body hair who walk upright. A human identity is a social construct. It's not as though that's not a valid theory. I can't prove that you're wrong, nor you right. I'll only mention you are entitled to your own opinion, which is shorthand for you're a moron and you need to shut your moron face. But since social convention forbids us from going around saying that to each other all day, we have the more socially acceptable phrase, you are entitled to your own opinion. Anyway, in feeling another person's imagination flirt with yours, decide what overlaps, what we share and what we don't, all aspects of what give it its charisma are fair game. We can start from general and move into specifics. All as far as Sandro Sebastian is concerned anyway. I'm taking into account a most dynamic duo of yellow and purple. Look in all corners, in all objects. The main push and pull of color is goldish yellow and bluey violet. It's running through most of the painting, and holds the general atmosphere with just enough of both colors. Imagine any inch more of either color. It would overwhelm the piece and gross you out. I'm checking out the foil wrappings on the champagne bottles, and even marble counter now. It's got some unexpected yellow in it. I'm not tired of it. We might mention it's pretty, but beyond that, it's a decision made by a person, and you can feel a human sensibility in it. It's neither by accident nor default. Someone out there with a sense of human vulnerability chose these colors, because they prefer their ability to seduce and charm, and with that decision is a bit of personality. About here is where you say, it's all subjective. And the interpretation is subjective, but not the visual decision itself. An artist chose these colors, but how crucial it is to making this thing what it is, and giving it its seductive quality is debatable. I might say it's of magnificent importance to the piece's identity, and you might say, that observation is a bit superficial, or a bit obvious, or not that engaging, Sandro. Merely a formality on the part of the painter. But the beauty of the discussion is that everyone gets to decide for themselves what's important here. I would just respond by saying, you're entitled to your own opinion. Deciding now how I enter the piece, the woman at center, it's not just a matter of her being the largest item on display, but the only object that is completely unobstructed by other objects. Everything else here is part of some bundle, some conglomerate of items. She is a large mass that I can comfortably grab hold of and enter to pull myself in. Then I might also mention the high contrast value of the woman and her outfit. It's the only place in the painting where we have the lightest lights and the darkest darks right up against each other in massive blocks. Now, say she held some tray of glasses in front of her, or bundle of something obstructing our view of the dress. You'd be completely lost and frustrated. We need her clear and easy to view to start my foray into the piece. Now let me flex your imagination muscles a bit further, if you trust me still at this point. Then take my word on this next one. Are you prepared to follow me? The carnation on her outfit and the flower in that glass vase, the electricity between them, they're almost shrieking. Am I projecting that? There's some dialogue between them, a magnetism that I don't see happening anywhere else. It appears another attempt at making sure I know this is the center where he wants me to start. One seems to need the other, doesn't it? They're reaching out to hold hands, and thank God for a bright spot of yellow in front of the bottom right corner of her dark dress. Need that. And speaking of bright shrieking items, the far back woman in the back left, in the balcony's reflection, in her white outfit and yellow gloves, do we notice her manner of dress as opposed to all around her? A bright light in a dark cloud. She needs to be lighter. If she were dark as they, that whole area of the painting would fade into oblivion. Why would I even look there? And a sharp musical phrase of gold and white. See that? A distinct event he's put here. Then I look at the amulet on the central woman's sternum area. That kind of gold, and that kind of white of her skin, which is lighter than the face, which you normally wouldn't do. Hear the music there? Is it my imagination, or is he deliberately repeating this same little phrase? Look at both. The amulet on her sternum is that woman on the balcony off to the left. Doesn't seem a coincidence or an accident. Guy's got a little attitude here, huh? Do you still trust me? Am I projecting it? Let me test your trust in me one more time. The woman's right arm, the arm on the left-hand side of the painting. Did he deliberately lighten her forearm to interact with the gold bracelet in that same musical gesture? Isolate the amulet on her sternum, the bright woman in the far-off balcony, and the newly discovered bracelet on her right wrist. That same little event is happening decidedly in only those three places. How much is that creating the attitude, the charisma? Perhaps I'm a bit superficial, a bit obvious. I think you're projecting that, Sandro. Well, you're entitled to your own opinion. Or maybe you'll give me the woman on the balcony and the amulet on the sternum, but not the bracelet. But the bracelet doesn't seem to belong anywhere else. There's nothing like this trio anywhere else in the painting. Then there's the power of solitary colors. I've been giving credit to colors in multiple places, matching hues that speak the same language. Let's give a shout out to the bowl of oranges here. The whole painting wouldn't be what it is without it. It's the only place where this orange appears, and it's proud to do so. It doesn't feel out of place or locked in. It interacts with all of it. Without it, can you imagine how her black dress, the one in person and in the reflection behind, would just run wild unchecked? It would be chaos. You're seeing now, of course, it's not about speeding up, but slowing down your reading. Your eye is catching all this, it just doesn't know it is. Let's remember, we're looking into someone else's imagination. Not mine, not yours. This is how we open ourselves up. What compels you to get vulnerable in front of something? There are no wrong answers, only boring answers. So what does this tell us, Sandro Sebastian? Are we now ready to paint an impressionist masterpiece? Well, let's set up our easel and apply what we've learned. This will be an acrylic paint exercise, and yes, you can do acrylic paintings on paper, provided it is at least 80-pound paper or thicker. What I'm using here is 90-pound. I love these pads for acrylic exercises because you can do one painting and give it maybe 2 or 3 layers, then go grab a bite to eat, come back a half hour later, and it's dry enough to flip the page and do another painting that same afternoon. Remember, exercises don't have to be masterpieces. We're just finding something, or practicing a new way of looking. Now let's get on with our little high-speed demo here. We'll start with that base color relationship of violet blues and gold yellows. Since you've decided that's so important here, Sandro Sebastian. I wouldn't have decided that. So your painting would look different than mine then. Chill. And next, we're going to mimic Manet's central figure, the vertically postured woman in the dark garment, as the anchor point, the largest unobstructed object in the piece. Well, at least you say that's what makes it significant, Sandro. I wouldn't say that. So your painting would look different than mine. Chill. Also, the contrast between the woman's skin and the dark garment is where the lightest lights meet the darkest darks in mass quantity. Since you've decided that that's so important for this thing's attitude and charm, Sandro Sebastian, that's not what I would have decided. Okay, so your painting would look different than mine. Chill. We're just experimenting with a new way of looking, so we don't get stuck on autopilot and end up on the university art department faculty, with a portfolio of 30 years of doing the same 5 paintings over and over again. Don't be afraid to open up a new set of eyes. The wall behind her will be a wall. I'm not doing a mirror, like the Manet piece. No reason to kill ourselves over this. So the wall will have violet-tinted shadows and maybe some gray discoloration. And let's not forget that marble counter down there. There's a looming burly man in the reflection ordering a drink, which I believe is the image of us as the viewer, but I'll replace him with a trendy-looking floor lamp. Maybe this is a housewarming party in someone's new apartment. When you're doing a painting inspired by another, it's not like every single item in the original masterpiece has to have some sort of direct equivalent in your piece. You don't want it to be a parody painting, unless you're trying to prove how clever or funny you can be. Let's just lean on the main elements here. Remember that carnation on her outfit? I'll just put an embroidered flower on her shirt to lighten up that dark area. And remember that woman on the far left balcony in the reflection? Let's put her equivalent here. I must admit I'm going to cheat and literally put a framed image of her in that back left position. Not so clever, I know, but remember, this is just an exercise. If everything looks gooey and smudgy, don't be insecure about that at all. As long as the general atmosphere is showing itself and the charisma is doing its seduction thing, we can refine edges and forms later. Remember, personality first, technique second. Better to be charming than intelligent. Try to be both, but if you have to favor one, favor charming. A highly intelligent man with no personality is not someone we want to hang with. And a person with neither brains nor charisma, well, we have a nice spot for you on the university art department faculty. And remember, I insisted that this amulet around her neck, along with the bracelet on her right forearm, and the woman in the back left balcony are part of the same visual family, so I have to include that now. Since you've decided that that's so important here, Sandro Sebastian, that's not what I would have decided. Are you still here? Ah, yes. The bowl of oranges on the bottom right, to the young lady's left. Those have to be there. But what's Sandro doing there? Some kind of tall pound cake? Some giant candle? Oh, it's a jar filled with orange juice, or some beverage that's a similar color anyway. And there's a little pedestal for it. How cute. What's that? Did someone throw an egg at it? No, it's a label with an orange on it, so the guests know that it's orange juice. I guess we're having this party in the morning. Maybe it's a brunch. Maybe there's an omelet bar just next to her. Out of the frame, some chef with a hat on cooking to order. Boy, they went all out at this thing. So I'm going to cut you loose from the video for a moment and go into slideshow mode, so we can start shuffling around, doing some finding here. Most of the painting is the finding. Let's find her a more sensible hairstyle. Ah, phew! That's a load off. Chisel it some more. Start to define the face, masses of the skull. Now let's move down to the shirt. Smooth out the black so it's not so scratchy. Easier on the eyes. Phew. Deal with these arms on the countertop. Bring them into the light and fill in the background. Then there's the beverages on the left-hand side. What's that? Chocolate mousse? A plate of brownies? Oh, it's a pitcher with a dark-colored drink in it. And the classic champagne bottle to the left. But if this is a brunch, it's probably cider. Well, it doesn't matter, this is just practice. We can work out the logic of your painting later. Let's take a look at the whole thing now. Alright. The important areas are filled in. We still haven't touched the wall behind the floor lamp over on the right. It's just white paper. And the area above her head is still pretty scratchy, but we can tend to all of that when we're doing the real piece. Like if we grab a canvas that can support many layers. This paper can only do so much paint before it starts to buckle. But let's get into her face and finally meet her, the star of this video. Ah, mademoiselle, there you are, très magnifique. You are so beautiful. Les cheveux, les yeux, la nez, la femme de mon cœur, et son visage. It is how you say, an honor to paint such a beautiful woman, mademoiselle. Ah, l'amour. Hey, don't get high on your own supply, Sandro. Oh, sorry. Let's take a step back here and soak in the whole thing. Not a bad start. We can decide at this point if it is worth grabbing a fresh canvas, or another piece of paper even, and exploring some more, now that you know where you're going. Or we might decide it isn't for us and move on to something completely new. But let's hold it up to the Manet piece, just for the folks at home. Remember, it's a contest of values. You get to decide what's important here. You might find my interpretation of the Manet piece deeply mysterious and compelling, or you might be falling out of your chair laughing like, boy, Sandro, you're not even close. I'll just say, you're entitled to your own opinion,